To Boston, here at FIATech, and we wanted to welcome all of you and for joining us this morning while we talk about EnableMyTeam. Before we go ahead and get started, I did want to go over the functions of the GoToWebinar toolbar. You'll notice that is unique to you. To minimize that, you can hit the orange arrow at the top of the bar, and that will give you an unobstructed view of the presentation. You will also notice that you're on a muted default mode. We do, however, encourage participation, questions, points of clarification, and you can do so by using the Questions tab on that toolbar. Type those in at any time. Those will go directly to me, and at the end of the presentation, we'll do some moderation of the Q&A that comes in with our presenter. If for whatever reason we might run out of time, we'll follow up with you after the presentation. And last, I wanted to mention we will be recording this and posting it at www.fiatech.org in the next few days. So you will be able to hear both the audio and the visuals of the presentation and share those with colleagues. So with that, I want to go ahead and thank Sandeep Jain for joining us today to present. He is the founder and CEO of MobiBiz, the company behind EnableMyTeam. Sandeep brings 12 years of experience in technical architecture and product design in industries ranging from software, telecom, to banking and finance. His passion for innovation led to the EnableMyTeam, which is a fresh approach to enhancing workplace and enterprise productivity using a balance of technology, policy, and processes. Before we turn it over to Sandeep, I want to introduce my colleague, Neil Pawsey. Many of you know Neil. He runs our European activities over in the UK, which is also where Sandeep is located. And he's working together with MobiBiz in the Commit project. So I want to turn it over to Neil and let him give you a quick background.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Just wanted to give you some context as to why we're giving the presentation today. MobiBiz are a member of FIATech's close allied organisation, Commit Projects Limited, based in the UK. FIATech have had a formal memorandum of understanding with Commit for, well, I think since 2007. Commit's focus is on the mobile technology workspace within construction. It's been a very long and fruitful relationship between the two organisations, lots of collaboration, funding between projects, and helps FIATech focus on this particular area of technology. MobiBiz have been a member of Commit, which stands for Construction Opportunities for Mobile IT, for 5 or 6 years, probably longer than that, and Sandeep will put me right about that, I'm sure. Have been a strong and passionate member of that organisation, and Sandeep himself has been a passionate advocate of the improvement, enhancement in productivity in construction through the use of mobile IT. So I just wanted to give you that background. If anybody had any questions concerning the Commit organisation, I would also be happy to answer those questions during the course of the call. So I won't waste any more of Sandeep's time. Hand over to you, Sandeep, so you can lead us through the EnableMyTeam product.
Thanks, Neil. Hi, everyone. Good morning to listeners in North America, good afternoon in the UK, and a very good evening to listeners in other parts of the world. A big thank you to Nicole Testa Boston and FIATech for organizing this webinar. I'm going to be talking about supplier intelligence and spend management in construction today. So we'll go over what supplier intelligence and spend analytics mean. We'll then go into some industry use cases, how it applies to construction, and define the problem we're trying to solve. Then we'll go into what approach EnableMyTeam has taken to solve this problem. We'll go into some technical details, solution strengths, and then we'll have a Q&A session in the last 10 minutes. So I'll get started by talking about what spend intelligence means. But to answer that question, I mean, we can answer that in the form of a few more questions. So how well do you know your suppliers? Do you know how dependent your supply chain is on a specific supplier? Do you monitor supplier performance in terms of on-time delivery of products and services? Can you identify supply chain risks, including financially weak suppliers? Are your suppliers compliant with the contracts? and then how prone is your supplier to natural disasters and geopolitical climate. Well, it sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? But basically, supplier intelligence for me is three areas: supplier dependency, supplier risk, and supplier performance and compliance monitoring. Next is spend management. Now, the definition of spend under management is essentially the percentage of all non-payroll, tax, tariff, and fee-related spend that falls under the management of the procurement or finance departments in the organization. Now, you know, companies usually spend money in two ways. Either employees create requests, they issue purchase orders and process invoices, or they just go and spend money and then expense it later. And spend analytics is essentially a very important aspect of spend management, and that's what I'll focus on in my webinar today. So I'll start off by giving you a few stats, and these stats come from a research report from Aberdeen Group. This was actually dated last year, so it's not that recent, but still I think it's quite valid. So this pie chart that you can see on the screen right now is basically saying that right now 50% of the organizations have between 3 and 4 systems generating spend data. And now system generating spend data means account payable, accounting systems, vendor management systems, procurement systems, other expense-related systems, travel management systems. So 15% of the organizations have 20 or more data systems feeding spend analysis. And the rest, 35% have less than 3. One more stat, 32% still use basic spreadsheets as the primary approach to spend analysis. And the top reason that most CIOs or chief procurement officers, the top reasons for spend analysis initiative is poor data quality from existing systems, inability to identify and forecast savings opportunities, and that's 49%, that's the second reason. Unmanaged spend, pressure to place more under spend management, so everything should be managed, and that's 40%. Labor-intensive process for managing and collecting data. Now, we all know how difficult it is to collect data and then making sense of it. That's just almost next to impossible without using something automated. And that's 36%. Inability to identify and prioritize top spend categories and to see where your organization is spending. That's a big reason for people, organizations going after this kind of analysis. And the last one is a lack of measurable insight into the success of cost reduction initiatives. I mean, a lot of organizations do these initiatives, but then it doesn't give them much insight. So these are the main reasons why people go for spend analysis. Now, how is spend analysis and supplier risk and performance related? Basically, because spend analysis provides insight into what companies buy, and supplier risk and performance provides insight into the vendors from which these firms buy these goods, it seems logical that they would go hand in hand. Now, what are the various use cases for using something like this? I mean, for finance and procurement, this means 100% spend visibility and intelligent buy decisions. For compliance, this means less time spent on audit and more time on solving potential problems. And for sales, this means increased sales productivity and expense management. But what does it really mean for construction? So for construction and supply logistics, this means real-time risk management for your supply chain. Now, I'll go into this in a bit more detail. Over the last few decades, the role of logistics management has gone paradigm shift. It's widely recognized as a very important aspect of your overall business strategy, especially in construction. At the same time, you've got shortened plan, build, operate life cycles, lean project delivery, and a huge increase in the number of suppliers on one site. And that really has increased the complexity of supply logistics management on a construction site. So to reduce cost and gain a competitive advantage, I mean, supply chain executives, they focus on supply management inefficiencies in the supply chain. Now, ignoring upstream supply chain activities can be quite costly. Now, without naming the company, I mean, for one of UK's leading construction and engineering solution providers that we're working with, they have about 300 different suppliers. So gaining insight and visibility across the entire supply chain ecosystems means more than just savings to them. What it means to them is competitive advantage and long-term competitive advantage. So the issues basically fall into 3 main areas with supplier logistics. Inbound planning and optimization. 4 main areas: order visibility, inbound planning and optimization, supply management and compliance, and forecasting and capacity management. So with supplier logistics and real-time risk assessment of the supply chain, there are a number of use cases that we see in construction. I'll talk about a specific one, and that is construction supply chain insolvency. So the question is, how much does your project depend on your tier 1, 2, and 3 contractors? Now, financial problems in the construction industry can appear in several ways. I mean, there can be fewer orders, inflated claims, disputes, employers experiencing financial difficulties. And basically, insolvency in any one link in the supply chain can be a huge area of concern for the main contractor. So the issues to consider for a main contractor is essentially, basically, I mean, for example, in the manufacturing sector, businesses in the manufacturing sector have shifted to an increasingly low stock, quick order model of supply. So this is good when the economic conditions are good. But in difficult trading conditions, manufacturers can become increasingly exposed to risk if a major supplier fails. But the failure of one link can have a significant impact on each party, and in several ways. It can be financial, management time. It can be disruption in production lines. It can be delayed deliveries to other customers, and obviously inefficiency and increased costs. So what are the warning signs? I mean, when do you know that your supply chain is experiencing difficulties? I mean, one of the obvious ones is supply chain members are not delivering in accordance with the agreed schedules. You know, the deliveries are late. Then complaints from other members of the supply chain. Because obviously all these suppliers and these contractors, subcontractors, they're related. They're supplying to each other. Attempts to inflate payment applications, you know, unexpected price rises, renegotiations of pricing terms. I mean, then failure by a member of the supply chain to file their company accounts on time, you know, silence, evasion tactics, high staff turnover. I mean, if a contractor keeps firing a lot of people and then hiring them, then, you know, geopolitical conditions, natural disasters, then obviously rumors, market intelligence, you know, I mean, these days with social media. So if you have a supplier and something is wrong, then it's obviously there are rumors about it. So, I mean, obviously, this is a lot of information, and information is available through a variety of sources. It can be formal, informal. You can do searches. I mean, in the UK, there's Companies House that manages registers and company accounts for all the companies. So you can do searches on Companies House. You can do searches on credit agencies. But, I mean, how do you track this information for hundreds of suppliers? So how do you, at the end, how do you protect yourself from this kind of risk? Now, there are various processes which can help contractors identify risks in the supply chain. Obviously, the supplier list should be regularly audited, you know, identifying which suppliers are critical. And the main thing here is that there should be an ongoing risk assessment, perform regular sales checks. And regular is a key word here. And keeping an eye on the market intelligence throughout the supplier relationship as far as possible. So in the end, basically, insolvency is a fact of life in this use case, in the construction supply chain. So managing that risk is vital for any manufacturer.
See, Sandeep.
Now, this is hi.
Sandeep.
Hello.
Hi, this is Nicole. It's It's somewhat difficult to hear you. Is it possible to move a little closer to the phone, the audio?
No problem. Is it okay now?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
Sorry about that. So this is one example of Crossrail, and now Crossrail is a huge project in the UK. Basically, it's a railways project in collaboration with TfL, which is the London Underground, and Metrorail. This is a project that's going to go live in 2018, and they're building 39 new railway stations. Now what they're doing, I mean, basically they know that they've identified this insolvency risk, and essentially what they're doing is they're getting daily, every morning they're getting briefings by portfolio management company D&B on the financial patterns of their contractors. These briefings raise their flags, if any first, second, or third-tier contractors are changing the financial patterns. And what they found was that a 152-year-old contractor went into administration with 49 million debts, and they were able to catch that on time. So so essentially the solution that they've adopted is essentially they've built a supplier map. So what is the relationship between these suppliers, these contractors? Which subcontractor is supplying to multiple tier 1 contractors or tier 2 contractors? So they built this map. So whenever they essentially find out any risk to any of the supply chain components, they know exactly what the impact is going to be, and they alert the project manager, they alert their other suppliers, and so they manage that quite beautifully. But this is a huge project, and this is something that needs to be done among other use cases by most companies in the construction industry. So I'm going to introduce EnableMyTeam and what approach EnableMyTeam has taken to solving this problem. Basically, EnableMyTeam has developed a cloud-based solution for supplier logistics management. And we've always had 4 objectives we wanted to address when we designed this solution. Number 1 was end-to-end visibility into your supply chain. Number 2, supplier performance and compliance evaluation. Number 3, assess risks to your supply chain. And number 4 was identify and implement KPIs for a supply chain optimization. Now, going into a little bit more detail, I mean, on the third point, analyze risk to your supply chain. What does that really mean? I mean, for suppliers, what this means is supplier diversity, making sure your supplier base is diverse enough. You're calculating how much business exposure you have if any one of your suppliers goes bust. Then monitoring compliance and performance of the supplier by looking at their on-time delivery of products. And then lastly, identifying supply chain risks, including financially weak suppliers, by checking their credit ratings, their risk ratings, their carbon ratings to see, finding out the carbon rating for your entire supply chain, supplier diversity targets, and then obviously factoring in the environment, assess the impact of different parts of the supply chain on the environment using carbon ratings, and then natural disasters, quickly assessing the cost of a natural disaster on your supply chain. And then obviously market conditions and geopolitical conditions, factors that can affect your supply chain. Now, for example, I mean, there was last year there was a volcano in Iceland, and as a natural disaster like that, you can obviously not you can't predict that. But if you could find out the impact of your supply chain as soon as it happens, it can really help. The fourth point is identifying the KPIs, and this is quite important because what the key performance indicator is, it helps you continuously refine and improve a global sourcing strategy to positively impact your sourcing systems. And then obviously once you have identified the KPIs, you can set them and then monitor them on a continuous basis. So to achieve all this, what EnableMyTeam does is basically it we are all for data. So what we do is we enrich, we extract corporate in-house spend and supplier data. And then we enrich it with real-time information from external systems. For example, news, regional weather, political climate, market conditions, supplier ratings. And then also we integrate with external supplier data. It can be logistics data. It can be their delivery logs. So this, and then we put all this data in the cloud, and then we do analysis on it. So essentially, you have one single source and 100% visibility into your suppliers and supply chain. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on how it works. The way I always define EnableMyTeam is always been with one line. Essentially, EnableMyTeam is a cloud-based supply intelligence and spend management platform with capability to relate unstructured data using machine learning algorithms. Now, this is really the essence of our approach. And you know, the objectives, the 4 objectives I mentioned in my previous slide, this is how we achieve them. Basically, number 1 is by using the cloud. A standards-based, interoperable, massively scalable, and resilient architecture. Now, I'll go into a little bit into the advantages of using the cloud in this case in a bit. The second one is data integration and normalization. So, I mean, we are able to integrate data from all existing internal systems. It can be ERP, SCM, supply chain management. It can be accounts payable. And then also external supplier systems. It can be logistics, inventory, delivery logs, and we create one business view. And that's the second. Third one, and you know, the second point, it seems strange, it does seem simple, but I've spoken with some business analysts and project managers. I mean, you know, and these guys, they specialize in one system in their company. And they've never seen data or reports from another system in the same company. You know, so they've never seen data from that system, another system, let alone do something useful with that data. The third one is predictive analysis and risk management. So this is essentially our machine learning algorithms, how we classify and normalize the data that we extract, and what do we do to analyze it, look for patterns, look for risk, give it a risk rating. And then obviously the fourth one is the global supply chain visibility and insight. Obviously, by integrating supplier delivery logs and inventory, we are able to give visibility into your supply chain. And the last one I've just added is essentially what's important is these days is anytime, anywhere access to data. And I think mobile is a big part of it. To be able to view your supply chain and run some analysis on it on the move. So in short, ever-improving efficiency in the supplier network will enable companies and the suppliers to increase productivity and cut previously invisible costs. So this unified data set in the cloud will allow predictive analysis and machine learning algorithms to detect patterns by relating unstructured data. And with this, you can foresee any risks to your supply chain. Before going into the technical details, I'll briefly go over essentially what we've essentially innovated in our solution, in our approach. And the first one that comes to my mind is essentially a supplier graph. Now, this is something unique that we've done. Essentially, what a supplier graph is in a few slides earlier, I mentioned Crossrail, who've developed this supplier map. So they've developed a map, and they've seen that, okay, Tier 2 contractor is serviced by this Tier 3 contractor, and this Tier 3 contractor is also supplying to a number of other contractors. So this kind of map is really necessary for assessing the impact of anything that might happen to your supply chain. So what the supply graph what this does is it gives you gives each supplier credit, risk, compliance, and performance rating all in one view. So you'll see the supplier, and then you'll see this real-time ratings, and they'll update in real time based on the data coming in. Based on all the external feeds, credit ratings, they'll keep updating. Then just like the cost share project, we've developed a supplier dependency map. And then the supplier graph also shows real-time information and news on supplier. So that supplier graph is essentially one of the innovations in our product. So the solution highlights for our product is obviously supplier graph. Then spend analytics. I mean, our mission has always been using analytics to bring all spend and suppliers under management. So enterprise business intelligence projects are doing nothing to shake off the reputation for costing too much, taking too long. And I've personally, with my experience, I've worked in projects where you spend a year and lots of money before you see the first report on business intelligence software. So EnableMyTeam, basically, what we're aiming to do is open up analytics to all organizations, all sizes, not just the biggest one, and more importantly, to everyone inside the organization. So business intelligence or spend analytics or supply chain visibility, it shouldn't just be accessible to the business analysts in the organization. It should be accessible by everyone so that everyone can collaborate and share that information. The second is actionable intelligence. Now, spend analysis is essentially it's a business function. It's not an IT function. So whether it's purchasing, finance, or executive, so what you need is personalized, actionable intelligence with details and full visibility, and that's what we are aiming to do. Measurable KPIs, and this is I think at the end of any such analysis or any exercise, ongoing exercise, the most important output of that is a KPI. Now, I mean, some of the KPIs are easy to come up with. For example, in spend, you look at the cost reduction KPI, you look at cost avoidance. One of the KPIs you can look at is total spend under management, Maverick spend. You can look at contribution to total spend, inventory returns. And for compliance, you can look at contract pricing, contract violations, and for savings, you can look at savings percentage goals. But the thing is, I mean, these are very good. But what about construction? I mean, what specific KPIs can we identify for construction? And that is something that that is an ongoing exercise for us as well. One of the main tasks for us is to work with construction companies and partners, and essentially identify these KPIs, so that because this is not something that has been really done or explored much. That's one of the to-dos on our side as well. Then the last one is collaboration, and I touched on this a little bit already. Collaboration is essentially sharing of spend insights, and it can be spend insights, it can be supplier insights, charts, dashboards, news with your team, not just one or two people or one team. Depending on what the function of a team is inside the company, they should be presented with an appropriate view, so they can collaborate and share information and increase intelligence, collective intelligence. Now I'll go in a bit more detail on our technology platform, what it is and what it does. The idea here is to provide knowledge workers across a wide range of industries and functions with better information they need to make smarter decisions. Now, I mean, this diagram, as you can see, it shows a very simple view of what the idea is. It's extract, enrich, analyze, and it's inside a collaborative cloud. In essence, it is that simple. I mean, during the entire life cycle of our collecting data, there are 5 automated steps. One is data extraction, data classification, enrichment, analysis, and then visualization. So I'll talk a little bit about data extraction. What extraction is essentially extracting data from your on-premise systems, or it can be your another cloud service. It can be supplier logs. It can be just log files. It can be inside your firewall, obviously. So to extract that information and then put that information meaningfully in the cloud, and that's essentially data extraction. So our platform essentially makes data extraction easy. You can automate it. You can build jobs, and you can automate extraction by just scheduling those jobs. Now we've got pre-built connectors for more than 450 different systems. Yeah, it covers most ERP, most supply chain management, most accounting systems, and all this data and all this these flows can be managed in the cloud without much programming. In fact, without any programming. Data classification is essentially heuristics. I mean, so when you extract data, so where do you put it? What do you do with it? I mean, where does it belong? So this is probably the most important part of any extraction system. So and I think so these self-learning heuristics, they dramatically reduce the time and effort required to accurately consolidate, classify, and categorize the structured and unstructured information. And once you classify it, then you can make some smart decisions on it. So EnableMyTeam, our platform, it supports the standard industry taxonomies, but it also allows users to manually override and set explicit classification rules. And then any changes made by the user are saved as implicit or explicit rules that can be, that go towards the self-learning process. Now, the way our platform is structured, it's possible to accumulate hundreds or even thousands of rules this way on a data set. So, I mean, how do you effectively work through all those rules? And for that, we use Bayesian network or KNN algorithms to make the classification simpler, to make the classification work. We can on this slide I have some examples of the types of data that we can import. It can be the supplier master data, invoice transaction data, line item data, contracts, ledger data, requisitions, purchase orders, and it can be inventory logs or delivery logs for logistics from suppliers. Once the data has been classified, the next step is enrichment and enhancement of that data. Now, the enrichment engine, it basically automatically incorporates corporate data with indices or industry benchmarks and external data sources, as I mentioned before, news, credit ratings that can be related to suppliers, carbon ratings, social media, and pretty much any other custom piece of data that we can find that can be useful. So technically, what have we innovated here? So from my point of view, the main innovation that we've done is, I think now this is where I want to talk a bit about the cloud. I mean, the cloud is essentially, in many ways, it's an ideal environment for doing data integration to build a data warehouse. Now, the way we've gone about with our approach to the cloud is something called a hybrid cloud. So what we do is we enable private and dedicated VPN access to the cloud. What this means is that this allows us to this allows your on-premise systems to transact with cloud services and vice versa. So it's a dedicated private access. So it's not like it's not a public cloud. The next one is big data. I mean, what does big data mean? I mean, this is a term that you probably have heard being thrown about. Big data is a term it's basically used to describe data sets that are very large and very complex. and that the traditional databases, that can be your Oracle database or traditional relational databases, they can't handle them very well. So, and the amount of data that is being captured these days, big data is very common. Inherently, by using the cloud, EnableMyTeam's massively scalable platform ensures that the decision makers and knowledge workers across organizations have easy access to information. The technology that we are using for the cloud is Apache Hadoop and Google MapReduce. So for distributed computing and parallel processing. Now, parallel data processing, what it means is that using, and these two technologies by MapReduce and Hadoop are proven technologies, are used by the biggest companies right now. So the parallel processing means that you can analyze relational or non-relational, meaning from your existing database or from flat files. And then combine that with the news and social media quite quickly. What the cloud also gives you is a triple redundancy. Because the bigger task is divided up into smaller tasks and processed in a distributed environment, inherently the process is replicated. And what that ensures is that if there's ever a problem with any one element of the computing environment, your data is not going to be lost. And so the third point on my list is instant on-demand warehouse. Now, the cloud by nature is a medium with shared computing resources and more web-based standards. And you know, so this allows us to leverage this medium to full effect. And in many ways, and by experience, I am working with the cloud for data integration is so much simpler than working in traditional environments. Now, what if decisions, predictive analysis and risk management? What this means is basically data mining or transformation systems. They've traditionally required extraction of the data set out of a data warehouse into another data source before you can run some algorithms on it. So because the data warehouse can be massive, and so first you extract a subset of it, and then you run your analysis on it, and that's been the traditional model. But with the cloud and with Hadoop and with with the environment that we're using, it's possible to do in-database text analysis. What this means is that it's feasible to collect, analyze, and mine. Mining means analyzing massive amounts of structured data for new insights. So this just makes it so much more simpler. There's another term that that's called MOLAP, which is multidimensional online analytical processing. It's essentially what it means. It's traditional data mining techniques were based on OLAP, which was done as mentioned on a subset of data. What MOLAP does is in-memory database model. Enables fast slicing of data and dicing data, so it's so much more faster with the cloud. The last bit is visualizations. Now this is essentially your charts and your custom dashboards. Drill down and all drag and drop and Supplier and analytics that are represented in such a way that they give you key insights. So the platform that we developed, it allows you to build your own charts and dashboards very quickly, drill down through different data sets, and then obviously share and collaborate those visualizations within your organization. And that's the visualization bit. Here's an example of some of the supported integrations that we already have. And as you can see, I mean, based on the type of data we want to extract for enrichment. For finance, we extract data from Google, from Yahoo, from D&D. Dun & Bradstreet is where the cross-sale project is getting data from. Then for risk, for political risk, we have an organization called NSP. then social media feeds, and then obviously internal data from purchase orders to invoice to timesheets to delivery times, custom databases, then SAP, Sage, or pretty much all the major ERP systems. We can extract data with pre-built connectors. And then even corporate credit card statements. I mean, these days, expense management solutions, they're able to import in corporate credit cards so that they can convert them into expenses automatically. So we can get that data and use that for analysis as well. And then carbon data footprint. So there's TrueCost and there's DEFRA, which is in the UK. So we can get feeds from them. Partners. Now, I think this is basically what Neil was referring to in the beginning of the presentation. Commit is essentially construction opportunities for mobile IT, and we've been working with Commit for a long time now. We've collaborated on a lot of projects, and this ties in with my with the KPIs I was talking about. That the big to do for us right now is in the construction industry is to identify the KPIs that are useful in construction, and essentially we're working collaborating with Commit on a project, and we're openly looking for construction companies or like to participate. And essentially, for that we also have a beta launch for EnableMyTeam on the 11th of October, and people who are based in London who are attending today, if you send me an email, and if you would like to attend, then I can send you free invite. They're free cocktails, so that's for people. Here are my contact details. My name is again Sandeep Jain, sjan@enablemyteam.com. Any questions or any more details if you need, just send me an email. And a Q&A. I think we'll have a Q&A session. So I think we have a few 10 or more minutes. So if anyone has any questions, I'm here to answer them that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandeep. For those of you who are on the call and have any questions, you can use the questions tab to type those in, and we'll ask Sandeep on your behalf. I do have one, Sandeep. Could you tell us some more about how the solution integrates with the multitude of back-end financial systems out there on project sites and in construction companies?
That's a very good question. I mean, I think yeah, I mean, I think I'm a semi-technical guy, so I don't think I can provide a lot of details. But what I would like to say is that essentially, so for a construction company that uses existing ERP systems, it can be Oracle E1, which is essentially JD Edwards, or it could be a SAP, or it could be accounting systems like Coins or so what we have is we can essentially build connectors, or we have pre-built connectors. So what they do is they extract. So the connectors are essentially ready-made connections to those systems. So through the VPN cloud, we will be able to integrate into the on-premise system through the firewall. So if there was a company using Oracle, let's say. All they would need to do is specify the connection details for that system. So once the connection is established, a pre-built connector for Oracle will know what the data model of that software looks like. So for example, if you were integrating into a module of SAP and you specify the connection details, once the connection is established, it will automatically show you the map of a standard SAP module, and since it's a pre-built connector, it would automatically map into our cloud, because we've done that before. So pretty much, other than specifying connection details, the user doesn't have to do anything unless they want to customize it. So I think one of my screenshots, it showed a flow where you can essentially intervene and change the mappings of certain fields, or even do some custom manipulation on the data. So those kinds of things are possible with minimal programming. With serial connectors, they're not necessary. Now, if there is a system or a custom database that needs to be supported that we don't have a map for, then it's our job to basically go in and connect to the Oracle, which is essentially something that is very standard. But then getting the data map out and then mapping that somehow into our cloud. And that's a matter of essentially weeks, not months or years. But as I said, most existing systems already have a pre-built map.
Thank you, Sandeep. I also think someone just sent me a question, and I think I may have inadvertently deleted it. So if you did just send me a question, please resend it. And I know Neil has a question for you.
Yeah, I do, Sandeep. It's probably a more general question, not specifically about the solution. It's about data security in the cloud. There are a lot of cloud-based solutions now being advocated out there in the marketplace. Could you give me your perspective on the real security of data? And if you're talking about financial data, well, then that's about as secure as it gets. How secure is that environment?
I think, Neil, is a very good question. I mean, I think most people have very genuine concerns with the cloud. I mean, because obviously, it's internal data, and you're putting it on well, it feels like you're putting it in a place that you don't own. Now, and that's a genuine concern. So and that's why this hybrid approach has come about, and it's not something that we've invented. There's been a lot of talk about it in the industry, and I think that is the way to go forward. Basically, what is the cloud? I mean, cloud computing means that you are able to leverage shared resources, shared computing resources, and without any management on your own. Now, companies talk about, I've spoken with a lot of companies on this issue, and they talk about saying, oh, we have a cloud, we built a cloud internally. Now, to them, my answer is that's not a cloud. You're not leveraging any shared resource. This is 10 years ago, people had hundreds of servers. It's really not a cloud. So you are doing all the administration. That obviously it's secure, but it's really not a cloud. So what a private cloud or a hybrid cloud is that you still get the advantage of using shared resources, computing power, unlimited computing power. And at the same time, you get a virtual private environment. And so your cloud is not public. No one can access it. It's not on the internet. It's only accessible to you via your on-premise private VPN connection. So, and I think that is the way to go forward. Now that's, and obviously in terms of security, everything needs to be secure with a number of protocols. And then there are a lot of other standards coming about, I think, in cloud. For example, there's interoperability coming about, where once you store it in a cloud, you're not tied to that cloud provider. So there are standards for moving that data into another compatible cloud quite easily. And then there are standards on identity assurance. You know, how do you know who's accessing the cloud and you don't show it to the wrong person? So although there are concerns, the speed and the development in this area and the pace of it is astounding. So it's not something that if people have concerns, and they're definitely genuine, but the world is moving that way, and it's because of the speed of innovation and the pace of innovation that is going on right now.
Thank you, Sandeep. We have a question from one of our attendees. What are the main transparency problems with the cloud, and how do you deal with these issues? Are these problems?
But I mean, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to see what the user means by transparency. Do they mean identity or?
Well, I'm going to need them to type that in and clarify their point. In the meantime, we have a question. What is the mobile technology aspect of this solution, and how does this work to collect business intelligence information in the field?
Yes, that's an excellent question. I think this is something that I haven't gone into much detail in my presentation. I think mobile is a very important aspect of this solution, mainly because mobility is in the construction industry is very important. I mean, more so than any other industry. And couple that with our methodology that business intelligence is not just for one team or one person or one analyst. It's intelligence is for everyone, and so it depends on what they want and what they see, but they can contribute to that. So, and that's how you make it a collective intelligence. So for us, we're coming more specifically on the field in this solution. We are looking to display this intelligence data, these charts, these visualizations. For example, you want to see supplier risk ratings or supplier graph, as I mentioned. Then you can see that on your iPad or on your tablet on the field. You can see, so let's say you've got a few hundred suppliers, and you want to see who's delivering on time, and if there are any issues with any of the suppliers while delivering, looking at the delivery logs for the past week, and you can do that in the field. So it's basically, and then additionally, that's just information, showing information. The other aspect of mobile will be information capture. So, for example, now, what's the point of just integrating data from supplier delivery logs when you can, when the person on the field, when the operator on the field can essentially tell the system that the supplier is late, you know, so information capture can be hours, time logged. It can be vehicle tracking information. It can be your deliveries or any other problems. And so all this information can be essentially captured in real time. And that's so I think information capture on the field is an important aspect of this solution.
Thank you, Sandeep. We did not get further clarification on the transparency question, so I think we will end it there. And thank you again for joining us and sharing this information with us. We have recorded it, and we'll be posting it on the fiatech.org website in the next few days. I've had a few requests already for folks that want a copy of the presentation. You can also contact Sandeep directly at sjane@EnableMyTeam.com. So thank you again for joining us, Sandeep, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.